is the gorgeous Starved Rock State Park. This state park is located near Oglesby, Illinois, and along the Illinois River. This is one of the most visited parks in the state of Illinois. According to the Journal of Illinois History, William Steinbacher Kemp says that 1.5 million people visited the park in the late 20th century. This year alone, Starved Rock State Park has had 2.4 million visitors, a 4% increase from last year. And 2 years ago, in 2018, it attracted 2.8 million visitors. These numbers come from the News Tribune, which is the local newspaper. It isn't hard to see why people want to visit the park. On the Starved Rock State Park website, the state park has 13 miles of trails with 18 canyons and 14 waterfalls that are active during the springtime. It is a place filled with wonders of plants, animals, and a deep history. Starved Rock is a great place to see that not all of Illinois is just flat with cornfields. There are many parks in the United States that are like Starved Rock State Park. These parks have beautiful nature and animals that drives the public in. Many people like to get away from the city to hike and to get away from their city world. State parks rely on their scenery to get people to come to their parks, but if there is history in that park, people will come to see that history. Starved Rock State Park has a Native American legend tied to it. The park uses that legend to drive the public into the park. Starved Rock State Park, along with other parks, uses whitewashed Native American history to drive in visitors. Who were the Native American tribes that lived in and around the Starved Rock area? Here's a sign at the Starved Rock State Park that states that Native Americans lived here for over 10,000 years. And according to Steinbacher Kemp in the Journal of Illinois History, Native Americans can be traced to living in the Starved Rock area as early as 8000 BC. There were 5 tribes that lived in this area according to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources website. These tribes were the Hopland, Woodland, Mississippian, and Illinois tribe. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources also says that the subtribe of Illinois, the Kaskaskias, were living on the banks of the park from 1500 to 1700. The area was rich with Native American culture and tribes. In the 17th century, according to Steinbacher Kemp in the Journal of Illinois History, Spanish explorers Louis Joliet and Father Jacques Marquette were exploring the upper Mississippian River when they stumbled upon the Illinois River in the Starved Rock area. They soon met up with the Native Americans there and their tribes. After meeting up with these tribes, Father Marquette wrote in his journal that the Native Americans were savages, but could be converted to the Word of God. This is an early attempt of Europeans pushing ideas and beliefs on Native Americans before understanding their culture and ideas. In 1673, the French claimed the land and built a fort on the Starved Rock Bluff, but this fort served as a trading post between the French and the Native Americans. When the French lost the French and Indian War, the fort was soon abandoned and burnt down later, according to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. How did Starved Rock become the state park that it is today? Well, according to the Starved Rock State Park official website, it was a piece of land out in the New Frontier until the 1830s when Daniel Hitt purchased it from the United States government as a reward for serving in the United States Army. Hitt soon sold the land to Ferdinand Walther, who turned it into a land for people to vacation, building pools, cabins, and even a hotel. In 1911, the state of Illinois wanted to purchase this site from Walther to turn it into a recreational park, which would be the state's first in its history. The state of Illinois succeeded in their purchase, and in the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps built the trail systems and a lodge that is still at the park today, 36 years later. Soon, Starved Rock State Park was named a National Historical Landmark and listed on the U.S. National Register. How did Starved Rock get its famous name? Starved Rock State Park got its name from a Native American legend. According to Mark Wazinski of the Starved Rock Massacre of 1769, fact or fiction, it all started at a meeting between two tribes of the Illinois and Ottawa. During this meeting, an Illinois brave stabbed Chief Pontiac of the Ottawa tribe, killing him. Outraged at this, Ottawa and their ally, Potawatomi tribe, waged war on the Illinois tribe. During a battle near the Starved Rock area, the Potawatomi tribe surrounded the Illinois tribe and chased them up a 125-foot sand bluff. The Illinois tribe would soon die of starvation since they were not able to get food or water. They faced death in both directions. This is how Starved Rock got its name. This is a legend because there are no written documents or pictures from this event since it happened so long ago and in the wild frontier. It is only passed down through oral stories. This is only a Native American legend. Is this why tourists flood to the park every year? Or is it just because of all the glamorous things Starved Rock has to offer? Starved Rock State Park is oppressing the Native American legend to bring in tourist money. It is using this legend to pull people into the park, but then uses their lodge and gorgeous landscape to distract people from learning more about the Native American history and legend. Here's a sign that you just saw that is at the park, but there's a big problem with it. At the bottom, it says that there's no evidence that this event happened after Chief Pontiac's death. They cannot tell this because so many Native Americans have lived here for more than 10,000 years. Even though remains and weapons have been found on the bluff, according to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. The park just does not want tourists to think that this is real and that it's only a fake legend. Just like Father Marquette, the park is putting their ideas and beliefs over Native American culture and discrediting the storytellers. This can also be seen in another sign explaining the park's early days. This sign fails to mention that Daniel Hitt bought his land from the government for serving time in the U.S. Army. During this time, white settlers were buying lands from the government and kicking Native Americans off them because they bought it, oppressing their culture and forcing them to move southwards. Starved Rock State Park also uses a lodge with a swimming pool to help the tourists think about Starved Rock State Park is about the lodge and the pool and the beautiful landscape rather than the Native American legend that the park is named after. Why would Starved Rock State Park not tell the story of the legend of the Native Americans? And this legend named their park. One of the reasons why Starved Rock State Park does this is because it is there to serve the people. This valley comes from Thomas Morris, a superintendent of state parks in North Carolina during the 1950s. Morris says that state parks are there to serve the people, take care of natural areas, and to provide people a place to eat and do recreational activities. It is a place for relaxation. I agree it is a place for relaxation. Going by this theory is wrong, though. State parks are also there to tell a story of that area and all of the people who live there. The people who live there are a part of the natural area. Don't serve just the tourists, but serve everyone equally. Starved Rock State Park may be oppressing the story to help save the small towns and communities such as Utica that rely on the tourist revenue from the park to keep their small shops and restaurants open. According to David Emodes of Starving Rocks and Dancing Mascots, the park may be saying the story isn't real because it really just wants to help the communities around it and for them to gain more money and help with the state park causes. This is a noble but shouldn't be done because it's an excuse for oppressing the story of Native American culture and their people. And they do not want people to know that they are oppressing and using this legend just to gain money for their own personal gain. I'm coming to you live during this documentary to let you know that this issue is very serious that we're talking about because it is going on in our world and everything that we do today, from textbooks to books to TVs, articles, all that are impressing the stories of certain people. It is time that we attack this in our state parks because it is very important that we do because it's a place where people can go enjoy nature and not worry about this crazy world that we live in now. One way that we can help with this is by hiring Native Americans as tour guides or park rangers or something. And this was found from the Smithsonian article by Zintong D. I can't pronounce his name, but I tried. He says that we should hire Native Americans to help us with this. They know the land, they know the history, they know some stories that we don't know about. It's a great way for them to pass on their stories to other people from around the globe, from around the states, from everywhere. It's a great way for them to do that. They may know the ugly side of it, and that's okay. You need to rip off the band-aid of people. Some people may be interested when they hear it. It opens up new horizons when you go to state parks for that to happen. We need to hire more Native American people in our state parks because what really has happened is we put state parks over land that they have already had, that we kicked them out of. So it's great just to hire them, let them tell their stories about the land and what their great ancestors did that they've been hearing. Another thing is that we need to realize that when we do visit state parks, is they are whitewashed. I mean, you go there as a white traveler, you don't think of any of it. But a lot of state parks are not including all races or ethnics or anybody really. They just go on the white man that is seen at Starved Rock State Park. When I walked over there with the signage, they only said a couple of words. The legend of Starved Rock Park wasn't even on the rock. It was facing towards the rock, which I thought was wrong. There should be something there that tells you about the significance instead of a brown sign that says that, because people won't know. We don't talk about that as often as we should, because as we see, it's just white great men in this world. And we need to change that. And that is what Tashisa White writes in her article, is we need to realize that a bunch of history has been whitewashed. We need to see that. A great example that she brought up was about Smokey the Bear. He was actually created during the protests in the 60s about the civil rights movement, and instead of stopping out forest fires, they actually meant that he was stopping out protest fires. It is very important for us to look at our state parks and say, is this including all races? All groups of people? Everybody? Is it including everybody? If not, how can we make it? Because I know maybe Starved Rock State Park is not, they're not trying to profit off that or anything. But they need to try to stop oppressing the story of it and helping people achieve that true story of it instead of just assuming that it's just a legend and that it's not false. It happened so long ago, we don't know. It could be true. Like, it probably is. We just don't know it because there's no written documents about it. But we need to learn to trust those storytellers, trust those Native American storytellers. They've been doing it for generations. We need to trust it. Stop oppressing it because you think it's not going to bring you in money, which they are doing. As soon as you accept the full story and the rich history that is there, I remember walking the park and there wasn't much about the Native American tribes that have lived there. It's great if you do have a story about Native Americans live there because we don't hear much about them in our history classes, especially here in the Midwest where a lot of these tribes are living their best lives hunting bison and everything. We need to start accepting all races and cultures into our state parks because it will create a stronger state park and a more complete history. That is what we need to do. Starved Rock State Park is oppressing and whitewashing the Native American legend of history, whether they know it or not, for their own gain in tourism. Instead of pushing the lodge and the food and everything that goes with it, push the stories, push the nature. State parks are there for that. That's why they're preserved for people to hike, to learn, for everything. So I hope you enjoyed this documentary, and maybe when you go to Starved Rock State Park or any other state parks, try to look at it from a different person's point of view. Thank you for watching.